back to ranting about the crazy, the American politics podcasters. You got all these podcasters that came out of the mainstream of sewage media, which is good that they took down the mainstream of sewage media, but it seems like now on like the independent media, you've got all these guys that got all this clout from being on the mainstream of sewage media, and then they left, and then they were championed for leaving, but now they've become crazy. So they got all this clout, and it's kind of scary because it's like they would be nothing if it wasn't for the mainstream of sewage media that gave them the clout, and then leaving it, which gave them more clout, and now they're crazy. But they're saying the things they say are crazy. They should have been. They might as well. I don't know about what happened with this dynamic here. I think we need to move away from the people that were in the mainstream of media for the most part. Unless the mainstream changes, then maybe they're getting better now. Maybe they're getting better, like with the Barry Weiss over there or something. I don't know. Anyway, what happened to some of these giant conservative podcasters who got famous on the big platforms? They all got famous on the big platforms, and then, like guys like Tucker Carlson. No one would even know who the guy was if it wasn't for the mainstream of media. And it was Fox. Fox is okay, but I'm just saying they wouldn't know who he was if it wasn't for the marketing team of the giant company. And normally I love when someone breaks free. They're like off the leash. They're unchained. Let the wolf howl kind of thing. It's like, okay, but here's the thing. He didn't escape the system. He molted. The Fox News, that Fox News leash that they had on him, that wasn't oppression, apparently. That was like branding. I mean, that's the whole reason he's got anything at this point in time at all. Because the mainstream media wasn't good. Let's be clear. Narrative factories, outrage assembly lines, industry grade spin cycles, Fox News being somewhat of the exception there. But I'm just saying they've got their systems set up on these big media companies, and most of them, mostly like NBC and whatnot, it was just straight sewage. I mean, it was just total propaganda for almost my entire lifetime, but they amped it up over the last 10 or 20 years to unseemly levels. But these guys, they weren't rebels who escaped the sewage plant. They were produced there, for crying out loud. They're not the antidote. They're the runoff. So that guy has become a real piece of work. This guy has become a real piece of work, and not like the Renaissance masterpiece piece of work. More like the piece of work, something the sewage system rejected for being too aggressive. The kind of work you grunt out on the can after eating cable news for like a decade. That's the kind of piece of work we're talking about. Real piece of work, this guy. We all realized the mainstream machine was useless, corrupt, self-serving, detached. That realization shook the body politic, apparently, at that time. But apparently, our body politic didn't detox. No, it just said, well, fine, we'll DIY it, do it ourselves this time. We didn't drain the swamp. We bought the franchise rights, right? Because it's like the body, this whole thing scared the crap out of the body politic, but luckily our body politic was able to produce more crap. So it wasn't a problem that we were emptied of crap. Don't worry. It scared the crap out of you, but your body is really good at producing more. So we're full of it. Our body politic is full of it now again. So now instead of one centralized narrative factory, we've got a boutique outrage startups that were all started up from the giant outrage factories that now lent their clout to these independent people who are once again abusing it, and they wouldn't have nothing if they started like from the baseline. So small batch hysteria, artisanal conspiracy, handcrafted moral panic. The mainstream was bad, but these podcast titanics, they're not the clean water, right? They're not the clean water here. They're the sediment that settled after the tank cracked, for crying out loud. And when the tank bursts, don't be surprised if that spills out is a real piece of work. All right? Don't be surprised if what spills out is a real piece of work. And again, not the museum kind. Not the museum kind, the plumbing kind. Real piece of work. The kind you grunt out on the can.